In this video, we'll be looking at how to leverage some of the custom features in Flow Designer to automate and enrich your communication processes. We'll be creating a flow that uses an HTTP trigger with incoming actionable information, passing that information to an xMatters switch to decide the course of action to take, notifying the correct on-call resource with a data-enriched notification, using a custom integration to create an Amazon Alexa voice alert to our operations team, then using the response information to play another voice alert to our operations team, letting them know who has taken ownership of the issue. The goal of this demonstration will be understanding the principles behind using triggers, variables, and custom steps with Flow Designer. To start the flow from an external system, we'll need to add an HTTP trigger. Give it an easy-to-identify name, and let's customize the icon, and change the current state to deployed so it's fully functional. We'll be adding two variables as outputs, service and details. Service contains the potential systems we could have issues with, and details contains the technical information to relay to our support teams. In the scripting tab, let's add a short script transforming this data from JSON in the request body to xMatters variables. Next, let's add a switch and connect it to the HTTP trigger. This will let the switch read the outputs from the trigger and decide which team to notify. Select the service property, and then done. Let's add two service paths for this example. Now we'll create two xMatters notifications, one targeting each of our teams. Connect them both to the switch options, and let's create the notification. Let's add the target team to each notification, and a title which includes the service variable, and the details which contains the details variable. This will give our teams the actionable information they need when they receive the notification. It's time to create our custom step. First, we need an endpoint. Every time we communicate with an external tool, we need to add an endpoint to connect to it. We'll be using Notify Me, an app that plays notifications on an Amazon Alexa. The authentication will be done with an API key in the script, so we can select No Authentication. Now let's add our custom step. We'll call it Alexa Notify Issue. Scroll to the bottom, click Add Endpoint, and enter our Notify Me endpoint. On the Inputs tab, let's add our Details variable, so this step will look for an input called Details. Then on the Script tab, we'll write our script, making sure to reference our endpoint, and add the Details variable as the notification to speak. If you want to learn more about scripting, you can find a complete scripting reference on our help site at help.xmatters.com. Next, add a responses trigger. This trigger will automatically include the response options from the notification. If the Escalate response was selected, the notification will notify the next user in the escalation order, so we don't need to add any further action there. But if Acknowledge is received, let's add another custom step with an Alexa voice notification to our operations team, letting them know who the issue has been assigned to. To represent our monitoring tool and trigger the flow, we'll be using a REST client. This will trigger the event and pass the actionable information in the same way any external system would. Now we've finished our flow, let's test it out. We'll trigger the flow and see what happens.
Internal server error on network server 1.
Let's acknowledge the notification.
Responded to by John.
And done. Let's open our activity panel and take a closer look at what happened. The activity panel shows us the steps followed in the flow as it was executed, and a detailed log showing us exactly what happened at each point. If our flow had failed or behaved unexpectedly, we can use this log to find and correct any issues. Hopefully this overview has given you lots of ideas on how you can use Flow Designer in new and exciting ways. Don't forget to visit our help and support sites for more ideas and how-tos.